Welcome to this week's edition of Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Chi-Chen Lo. The economic relationship across the Taiwan Strait has been a very important dimension in the bilateral relationship between Taiwan and China because it carries very important economic, political, and security implications. But for the past 2 decades also, we've been seeing closer economic exchanges between the two sides. So how do we read into the recent development between Taiwan and China economically, and what are the future prospects between Taiwan and China in the economic dimension? To join us today is Mr. Huang Tian-Lin, who is a very well-known economic expert in Taiwan. He is also a former national policy advisor to the President of Taiwan. Mr. Huang, welcome to our program.
Thank you for your introduction.
As we know that for some weeks ago, China's stock market suffered a very important drop and fall. And that creates some sort of chain reaction in the world stock market. How do you read into the episode?
Well, this is somewhat the reaction to the past year's soaring stock index. Last year, the Shanghai market soared around 130%. So I think this is just a reaction to this. Yeah. So shouldn't be too keen about that.
But there are two different interpretations of the event. One suggests that this event shows that China is the world factory of the world. And on the other hand, some people suggest that China's economy is in somewhat troubled situation. How do you read these two different explanations?
Well, you cannot deny the fact that China is now rising very quickly. And China will soon become an economic and military superpower.
Yeah.
Yet, some people tend to emphasize the negative aspect of China. For instance, in the year 2001, a book called The Coming Collapse of China.
That's right.
Yeah, written by Gordon Chang.
Yeah.
Yes. But 6 years already passed. China didn't collapse. Instead, its growth ratio from that year is 7.5%. But now, last year, it's accelerated to 10.5%.
Yeah.
So actually, it's performing as well as maybe better than we expected. Some still say that China has a non-performing loan ratio.
That's right, very high.
It's very high, estimated at 25 to 50%. So this, which would make China technically bankrupt. Well, everyone has to know that China is a totalitarian capitalist country. Yeah. So they can write off all the bad loans in one day.
But can they do that?
Oh yeah, by the order. Then input the new capital in. Yes, because anyhow, China has 1 trillion foreign reserves and a lot of money. They can also collect from the tax from the people.
Okay.
So we have to know the fact China is a capitalist, but also a totalitarian and also a socialism country.
So it's not a free market system in China?
It's not a free market system. Yeah. But we have to very careful that China is not the Russia. Russia was strong militarily, but very weak economically. Yeah. China, now they adopted capitalist approach. So they now is economically emerging to become a power. And also militarily, they are trying to strengthen their military power. So this year they may increase their military spending by 17.5%.
Yeah, double digit again.
Yes, that is very dangerous. So everybody has to look at it very carefully.
But speaking of China's economic growth, China has maintained a very steady, even double-digit growth for the past decade also. Do you think that China can maintain this kind of pace of development, economic growth?
For the near future, I think we can say that China will still grow. Yes, because their per capita income is pretty small. That's around 2,000. So this is a time for the high growth. Even Taiwan has experienced this kind of high growth in the period when the capital income is around 2,000 to 5,000. So we have to think that if China can maintain to attract the foreign direct investment that accounted for, in aggregate, 665 billion US dollars, yes, altogether. And half of them are from Taiwan. So if they attract from Taiwan a continuous flow of Taiwan capital into China, I think that Chinese economy will keep their growing pace in the few years.
You point out a very important dimension of China's FDIs. In other words, Taiwan accounts for the majority of FDIs for China.
Yes.
Why? What are other countries thinking about? Are they more cautious about Chinese market, or are we too pay fewer attention to the possible problems in China's capital market?
Well, China is a very big country. That is why so many capital are flown from Taiwan. And but we have to be very careful because that China is too big, and China speaks the same language as we do, and also has the same culture. So when this kind of small economic entity to join the big economic entity, the result will be the small one will be absorbed and maybe disappear. Yes. So that is why in the past 10 years, Taiwan's economic growth has slowed down because the too many capital was absorbed by China. And I think this will continue. And even though we said that we are invested too much, but they are like black holes, cannot resist. So,
but another argument put forward by other scholars is that if not for China's market, Taiwan's economic growth will be even worse. If China did not become a partner for Taiwan.
It's absurd to say that because when Taiwan is independent, economically independent from China, that is, we cut all the relationship with China.
Before 1987?
From 1949 to 1990. Yes. And all this period of 30 years, Taiwan experienced the so-called economic miracle. That's why we can achieve the economic miracle, the most important factor is we cut the relations with China. So China is too big. If we have economic relations, then I said before that that's like a black hole that will absorb into that. So we have to have, we need a more aggressive so-called management, restrictions, so-called aggressive management and effective opening proposed by our president. Yes. So aggressive management is necessary. So that to prevent Taiwan becoming absorbed.
You point out that China is too big, but on the other hand, China is too big to ignore, and you have to deal with China in some cases. And how can we do it, economically? In other words, we have to interact with China, but we are hoping that we will not be dependent on China. How can you keep the balance?
Well, as we said, in 1996, former President Lee proposed so-called No Haze, Be Patient policy. So they restrict investment by Taiwanese companies in such kind of industries as wafer, TFT, FCD, or the big steel mills, and also petrochemical combinant.
Yeah.
Now, 10 years later, we look back this policy. What is left in Taiwan?
All those industries.
All of this industry is left in Taiwan. So I think we have to, thanks to this so-called no haste, be patient policy.
Yeah.
So this is a kind of so-called effective management.
But as we know that you have been very critical of the current government's policy to open up to China's market and capital market and so on.
Yes.
What are they thinking about? Why didn't they listen to your suggestions and recommendations?
Well, because many companies, the so-called big shot, big economic company,
Tycoons and
tycoon, business tycoon,
Yeah.
they try to push the pressure on the president or to the Minister of Finance or Minister of Economics.
Yeah. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that now the relationship between Taiwan and China, economic relationship between two sides, is closer and closer. And there are some need or necessity for open up some dimensions of this relationship. For instance, 3 links. There are millions of Chinese speaking people now live and study or even, married to mainlanders and so on.
Yes.
Do you think that 3 links, especially direct flights between the two sides, is a necessity for Taiwan?
Well, the pro-China and the pro-opening policy, they try to always talk about that is inevitable, that is unavoidable, that is a must to do so. And if we do so, we'll vitalize our economy. Yeah. But the fact is not that. The more we open, the more outflow of our capital to China. This is our experience in the past 10 years, 15 years. So, for instance, I can cite the past experience Taiwan had. For instance, of the pescador, the pescador is the Penghu pescadors. Yeah. Pescador is a small island. Taiwan island is much bigger than. Okay. So before that, pescador can have an airport and have a direct links with Taipei. The population of pescadors is around 130,000 people. And everybody expects that after the direct flight, pescador will prosper. But this is the 1970, yes, 1970. And now it's already 30 years. And in the 30 years, pescador's population dropped. Now it's only 90,000. Yeah. Why? Because the direct links make its transportation so easier for pescadorians to come and also to invest in Taiwan. Once they come to Taiwan Island and they invest in Taiwan Island, they never go back. Yeah. So this can also happen to the relationship with Taiwan and the continental China. Because their size is 267 times of Taiwan's island. Yeah. So when we invest, those people who invest over there, they will find much more chances to go over there to invest.
But as you mentioned earlier, that China is a socialist country and Taiwan is a free society, free market economy. So even if the government wants to stop the outflow of people from Taiwan to China, as a free society, the government seems unable to do it, to stop the people from traveling to other countries. What can the government do to stop this kind of outflow, or capital flow, outflow, or human outflow?
Basically, Taiwan is a free economy. So actually, we are enjoying the most. We think that we are the most freedom, enjoying the most freedom. Yes, economically and politically. Yes. Yeah. But still, just take for instance of the America. America is also imposing some sanctions on the Cuba and the sanction on the Iran, and this works. Yes, and we also the so-called No Haze, be patient policy. It also worked. So I think this we can still keep on these kind of things. So talking about the direct links, in case the direct link was really realized, and according to the Federation of the Industry, industry, they made a survey and come out with a conclusion that the companies, after the direct link, will invest more in China. Is 1.9 times of those who reply that they will invest more in Taiwan. So it means after the link, more capital will flow to them. So if we calculate this, 1.9 times, it means around 9 billion a year. 9 billion US dollars a year.
Yeah.
So that is if we change into in Taiwanese dollars, it's quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when we come back, we'll talk about the capital investment, from Taiwan into the China market, because there is a growing concern that that could, deprive of Taiwan's bargaining chips vis-a-vis China in the future. So take a short break. Stay with us.